We are the Org. Our mission is to assimilate Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and beer. Lots of beer.
You're listening to a Geek Planet Online community podcast. For more free entertainment, including podcasts and videos, visit us at geekplanetonline.com.
Hello, friends!
Hello!
Welcome to bOrgCast 10.13!
13! 13! 13! 13! Now you got it? Damn it!
That joke never gets old. It is very old, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move straight on with our first of tonight's episodes, In the Cards.
It's priceless.
1951 Willie Mays rookie card. This is how I can cheer up my dad.
Everybody wants it.
10 bars.
So! But to get it,
That baseball card is the answer.
Cisco's son gets in over his head.
Do you want to die?
Could Jake's innocent quest
It all makes sense now.
You accuse the Kai of kidnapping?
set off an intergalactic war
We're starting to go over the edge.
on the next Star Trek Deep Space Nine?
It's quite a cool trailer, although
Yeah.
it makes it sound more trepidatious than is actually the case.
Yeah, well, the curiosity with this one is, of course, that the A plot is effectively the B plot and vice versa.
Yes.
So all the major stuff's going on in the background.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't know that particularly from the trailer, it has to be said.
No. So, you start off with the senior staff having depressed drinks with Cisco.
Oh, yeah. The bad body.
Yeah. And one of the things that Odo comments on is that he's not seen such an increase in the theft of medical supplies since the Cardassians were about to abandon the station. And then Worf says, everybody starts making their apologies, and so Cisco says, go on. And he says down to Worf and says, go on, Worf, you can go, because he's just been in a corner the whole time.
Like me at a party, yes.
Staring at a wall.
Not talking to anybody, just staring at stuff.
Yeah.
That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight, losing my religion.
No,
Right.
no, actually, I think you'll find.
But you will always find him in the kitchen at parties.
Okay, but he's not in the kitchen either, is he?
No, but that's pretty much what it boils down to, isn't it?
Uh-huh. And basically, Cisco's already feeling a bit shit, and then he finds out Kai Wynn's coming.
Yeah, look on his face. That's
Yeah.
fantastic acting.
And then Nog says that everyone's depressed, and he's in Quark's with Jake. And Quark is holding an auction the next day, and it really does sound like auctioning a load of shit. Some
Yes.
Romulan crap.
It's a toot sale.
It is! It's a fucking jumble sale, isn't it? But one of the things is a baseball card. They're going on that, what was that shit program called with the orange man that isn't Trump?
Oh, bargain hunt?
Yes! That's what it is, isn't it? They're trawling the car boots
Yeah, that's a tune.
for stuff that's actually got some kind of value. Or,
Yeah.
That's what this is. But anyway, Jake wants to bid for a baseball card for his dad. And that's your teaser. And then I love this conversation. It's so needed having that happens after the teaser. I'm human. I don't have any money. It's not. Then Nog's like, well, it's not my fault that your culture decided to abandon currency-based economics. And he's like, well, you can't knock our philosophy.
There's nothing wrong with our philosophy. Well, clearly there is, because you've got no money to spend.
He's like, and he says, we don't need money. And Nog's like, well, you certainly don't need mine then. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's, yes, love it. And
then Jake puts on the emotional pressure.
Oh, he
Not
does.
even for my dad. And you can just see Sirrut Lofton having the wail of his
oh, you
eyes,
can,
actually.
yeah. But I like the way this bit is directed, where Nog's just in the background squirming, and you can see that Jake is saying all of this without facing his friend, because he can't keep a straight face, because he knows he's playing it on.
Directed by one Michael Dorn, of course, this episode.
I think this one's well directed myself. Yeah. I love that Deep Space Nine finally addresses the elephant in the room that's been there for so long.
Well, this is our Ira Bear, bugbear, literally, about Star Trek generally is this idea. It just doesn't work.
No,
You've got to have money in order to trade with other people. That's, All right, it might work just if Earth was an entity to itself and everybody agreed just to do nice things for each other and not get paid and everybody gets what they want via replicators. That works. But as soon as you're then interacting with other societies and other planets, it doesn't work at all.
No. So then Kai Winge appears and wants to take a walk. And she says, there used to be a shop there. And Sisko's like, skip to the end.
Yeah.
And basically, she's got a meeting with a Dominion representative.
You disapprove?
I'm concerned. The Dominion is notorious for its political intrigue.
I have some experience in that area as well.
Which I like. And then you've got the auction. And there's all sorts of crap. A really bad statue, and there's not a lot that could be sold. But I like this one shot. There's a bowling guy bids for something, and you've got Quark going, sold to the blue man in the good shoes. And he has a nice grin on his face. He likes that his shoes are being called good. So then it comes to the lot that includes the baseball card, and there's a Vedek who's bidding as well. But he drops out, but someone else comes in, and they're outbid.
And this is Geiger. Dr. Geiger, played by Brian Markinson, who we last saw in Next Generation's Homeward, as the bloke who stumbled out of the simulation that Worf's brother was using to rescue his people. Remember that one?
Yes, but not some bloke randomly stumbling. I don't remember that much detail.
Ah, right. Yeah, well, it was also in the BSG mini-movie Blood and Chrome, and he was a regular in Caprica as well.
I never saw
Caprica was weird. It was kind of like, Battlestar Galactica meets The Godfather, except it was like 9/10 Godfather and only 1/10 sci-fi. It was very odd. Okay. And hence it died on its arse.
Oh, fair enough.
I mean, it was intriguing, but it didn't feel at all sci-fi. They went through a phase of producing sci-fi stuff that wasn't particularly sci-fi at all. And, having had BSG, which was relatively, sci-fi heavy, to go to that seemed really weird. But anyway.
And then you see Morn leaving with a picture, and I'm sure we see the picture again, don't we?
I'm not sure,
Who
possibly.
mourns for Morn?
I think it may crop up in that, yes.
Yeah.
Don't they sell off his possessions or something in that, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So then they decide that they're going to... Well, I say decide. Jake persuades Nog that they're going to try and negotiate with the guy who...
Geiger.
With Geiger.
Guy Geiger.
With the guy Geiger. Yes. Guy Geiger. Yeah. And he's just like turns around and he dismisses them as emissaries from the soulless minions of orthodoxy, and that's going to be the name of my The Darkness tribute band.
Is it?
Yes.
Right. Okay. The Darkness. Was that awful heavy metal band that was effectively a tribute band themselves anyway?
They're not awful, but
they were pretty much. They were a joke, weren't they? Weren't they? I mean, I assumed they were because they didn't make any sense to me. Like
but music that doesn't make sense to you is most music.
Well, this is true, fair enough. They weren't really metal, though, were they? Were they? They were just...
Well, I suppose it depends
They were 9/10 Spinal Tap, weren't they, really?
Well, I suppose it depends what sort of category you put something like Kiss in.
Yeah, I don't...
Because it's sort of glam rockish, metalish, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's I suppose, soft rock, maybe.
Yeah, or Ziggy Stardust-ish stuff.
Right. Ziggy Stardust? You mean...
And the Spiders from Mars. You think about the way Bowie drops
right, okay.
in. That's where my... Look, I've only heard like 2 of their songs. One of them was an attempt to get to Christmas #1, so that it wasn't Simon
I remember
Cowell.
that being a thing, yes.
And so I was like, yeah, you're not Simon Cowell, I like you.
Yeah, I'll give them that, yeah.
And they reminded me a little bit of T-Rex or Ziggy Stardust.
The great irony was that, they were supposed to be making a stand against all this prefabricated music, and they sounded awfully prefabricated themselves. There's something original about them. Anyway, that's
you don't think there's anything original about anybody?
That's not true. I come out with lots of original things.
No. Name a current music act you think is original.
A current? You're kidding me. I couldn't name a single current music act.
You're just old.
Meh.
Anyway, then you're on the station and there's Wayun!
Mm-hmm. And our son has started cheering whenever he's on screen now, which
brilliant.
Is nice.
But I love the fact that he's sort of, you're like, oh, hello. And Sisko gives him a standard insult. It's like, I love that we are comfortable enough with each other that you can insult me and whatever. And he's like, no, that's not it. I still hate you. And he doesn't actually say, fuck the fuck off. But he may as well do. Do you know what I mean? He's just
jog on.
Yeah, pretty much. And then you have Jake and Nog, who are summoned to a meeting with Dr. Geiger, who is willing to exchange the card for supplies and introduce them to his theory that the reason you die is because of cellular boredom.
Yes.
And he has the cellular regeneration and entertainment chamber,
which is actually a mini sauna that they appropriated.
And it sends entertaining messages, rather like mitochondrial telly, to your cells. Yes. But I'm wondering whether one of the people who wrote this was Irish, because CRAEC would sound like Craig, which is also pronounced crack. And do you see what I mean? I'm just wondering whether... Because that's
originally it was going to be that actually he was trying to bring his wife back to life. She died. And then they kind of felt like that was way too serious for the tone of the episode, so they went with this rather silly thing instead.
Yeah, which, I mean, I like. It's bonkers. So they're going to try and get these. They agree that he's crazy, but the point is he's not trying to create a weapon or something. So there's no problem with him trying to get his supplies. And to try and do things, Rom says, "Let me introduce you to incentive-based economics." So they sort of say, "What can we do for you? What would you like to do?" And so they do the chief's work, so he can go kayaking.
Oh, it's nice that's still a thing. That's ever since Next Generation days, that's been a thing for him. So that's cool.
Yeah. And then Bashir wants Kukulaka, so they have to go and steal the teddy bear back from
Yes. A bear, ironically, hated the bear.
Really?
Yes. Particularly the name, he found it way too cute. It's like a bit like JMS really hated the merchandise. For that, they had that shop that was selling merchandise, and he put one of those Babylon 5s out in space. Yeah. So it appears to be something that Irish Stephen Barry inherited as well. So
yeah, the thing is though, I kind of, given that we now know all the shit that Bashir went through, I think in a way it kind of, maybe it's a way of holding on to his original identity, and therefore that's that. I read, maybe I shouldn't have done, but I read more into him having this teddy bear now that we know about him than I would have done beforehand.
Yep.
And then he got a meeting with Cisco and Winn, which is interesting because she's like, they've been asked to sign a non-aggression pact, and obviously Cisco's initially sort of like, what? And she's like, well, no, come on. Are you really telling me that the Federation are going to protect Bajor? If it's a choice between Bajor and Vulcan, or she names a load of other worlds and she includes Earth, are you really going to do that?
But Berengaria? We've never heard of Berengaria before. I don't think it'll ever get mentioned again either.
Is it spelled Beherin?
No, it isn't. It's Beren.
Okay. I don't know. It's one of the ones. Some of them I'd heard of, but not all of them.
So all of them exist except for one,
which they've made up. But
none of them actually exist. But anyway, don't worry. Carry on. Yeah.
I really like this interaction between the two of them because she's not being smarmy or difficult in the way that she can be, and Cisco is just like, "No, you're right. I can't make that promise." And she says, I've got an unhappy choice to make. I consulted the orbs and I got nowhere. And she's like, tell me what to do. And he doesn't actually fall over, although I might have done in the same sort of situation. But he just turns around and says, honestly, stall. Because I don't think it's crisis time yet. Just stall. Say you have to meditate.
The season hasn't ended yet. Stall.
Say you have to consult people.
Got one more story to go. Stall.
Yeah, stall. And I like that she's like, okay, because he hasn't asked anything unreasonable of her, and she does the whole grab the ear thing, and she's like, yeah, I'll trust you. And I like this because I think it paints a more realistic picture of both people and politics, that there are times when people who ordinarily are on opposite sides
are of one accord on something. Yes, exactly.
That does happen in real life, and I like the fact that they're not caricatures. You have Jake and Nog delivering half of Geiger's supplies to him, and he takes something out and puts it in a thing, and there's purple lights and green lights, and he sort of goes woo, and he says, you hear that? It's the sound of immortality.
Yeah, it sounds like a Scytheman digesting a bad curry, doesn't it? And when as Jake comes in, Geiger exits his machine because he's just been using it, and he describes himself as being mildly entertained, which I think ought to be our motto, really. bOrgCast, be mildly entertained.
Yeah. But then the sound is travelling upwards, and you've got Wayoon with some Gemini, and he's like, what's that? And they've got machines going over the floor, and he's listening and trying to work out what it is. And then Jake and Nog go in with the last of the stuff as a result of Nog trying to tune out, I don't know what it is, static or noise or something from Klingon Opera, which he has to listen to at 82 decibels because that's what Worf listens to it at, which kind of clashes with Jake working on Kira's speech to some agricultural delegation. And there's a sort of a little bit of an argument, but nothing major. Result of all this work, they've got all the stuff, and there's nothing there. He's gone. All his stuff is gone. And Jake wants to blame the Kai and says, she's talking to that Vedek, he bid against us, it must be her, and you know what she's like. And now, have you heard of this expression? Because he says, I'm going to introduce you to another human expression, bearding the lion. Mm-hmm. I've not heard that.
I have, yes.
What's it mean?
It may have a biblical origin, obviously, but the idea is that you're going in and basically hitting a lion's happy sacks with a towel. It's that sort of idea of antagonising somebody in order to get a result out of them. So it's somebody usually who's quite threatening and.
Okay, well, I hadn't heard the phrase, and so then you get Nog saying lions, Geigers, and bears.
Oh my.
Well, Jake then says, oh my. Which,
you know where that's from, don't you?
Lions and tigers and bears,
yes.
Oh my. Which is from something.
Wizard of Oz.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh.
Lions and tigers and bears, oh my.
Lions and tigers and bears,
oh my.
Lions and tigers and bears,
oh my.
Lions and tigers and bears.
And then you have the Kai and Wayoon, and Wayoon's like, oh, I'm so glad we get along. I think you and I are very much alike. And the Kai holds his ear and goes, no.
The look on her face is just brilliant. No, we're not like at all. A big smile on her face.
Yeah. And then you have Jake and Nog in front of Cisco going, you've accused the Kai of kidnap and burglary. And so Nog wants to confess all, like, Jake's like, no, we were drunk, and then Nog's like, no, I wish to disassociate myself, and Cisco's like, no, and he's having none of it. So as they're exiting Ops in the turbo lift, then they get beamed over to the Jem'Hadar ship.
Yeah.
And Wayoon is like, what are you doing? And initially Jake sort of tries to explain, and then Wayoon's like, I don't believe you. So then Jake has comes up with this thing, we're from Starfleet Intelligent, Willie Mays, we think he's from the future, and we've got to find out what he's going to do. And Og's just sitting there like, no. And Wayne's like, I believe you. And they're like, you do? And he's like, yes, your first story. I believe that one. And then he wants to know more, about Geiger, and they're like, he's harmless, he's just into immortality. And he's like, really? And then Wayoon is really, really interested in Geiger's work. And then he says, aren't you forgetting something? So they're able to leave with the card. And then you end with Cisco saying, I don't know what it is, but suddenly everybody's really happy. It's like a breath of fresh air through the station. But of course, the Chief's gone kayaking, and Bashir's got his bear back, and Worf's opera sounds proper now, and Kira's speech goes down well. So obviously it's all going to help the mood. And
everybody's happy except Lita, who's lost the bear now.
Yeah, but she never should have kept it. Yeah, he gives them both a big hug for the card. And that's your episode, which is your sort of, I suppose, your kind of typical comedic upbeat before all the shit hits the fan episode in a way.
In a way, but in another way it isn't, because I say you've got the B plot is actually going to pay right into the next part, isn't it? So, and you've got interesting two sides of Wayoon in these two episodes we're covering tonight. Here's the slightly more comical side of him, whereas he's a bit more down to serious business in the next story.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to contrast those. This was a bottle show to save their pennies for a call to arms, but it is a fantastic story. It's just full of heart, isn't it? It's so sweet, the ending. Similar in some ways to Jake and Nog's quest to sell stem bolts way back in Progress. But it feels different thanks to the characters developing over the intervening years. And whereas before Nog was the one sort of all risking everything, these days, of course, he's a respectable Starfleet cadet, so it's actually Jake who's going off on a limb a bit. So
Yeah, but just overall, the guy with his cellular regeneration is just
barking in it.
Yeah, absolutely mad. But it's fun, and I love that the Wayun is like, I have an interest in genetics, I want to know more.
Yeah, it's just fantastic.
And you see him getting out of the funny capsule thing, don't you, as well? I like it. It's good. Because presumably, as a clone, he's got a shortened lifespan anyway.
Presumably, yes.
But yeah, this episode is silly and it's mostly fluff, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah. And it's not completely fluff because there's B-plot. So
yeah.
Okay, let's find out what other people thought. We've heard from Doreen. This was quite a parable. It also made me think of Tom Sawyer.
Oh.
Any ideas why?
Well, I used to watch that shit programme. Did you used to watch it?
Yeah, Huckleberry, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.
Yeah, I remember there was a paddle steamer and they ran away and that's about it.
Yeah, I do remember it being tedious and going on way too long. But anyway, that doesn't help us work out what Dory meant, but never mind.
No, sorry.
It was also extremely Star Trek too. Okay? It was also quite nice that it ended up not being about money. However, privilege did help.
They didn't buy what they needed. They sort of traded for it and bargained for it. So they didn't buy the way out of trouble, but if they hadn't been in privileged position in the first
they wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah.
Jake and Nog did help their community immensely through trying to get the baseball card for Ben, so I guess it's a pretty good message. I'm so glad we didn't see too much of Kai Winch. Not a favourite of yours, is she?
No.
I liked how Jake used his storytelling talents when dealing with the water. Jake seems really quite immature compared to Nog in this one.
I think that's a fair comment.
He's certainly, I don't know if immature is quite the word, but certainly more off the wall in terms of, what he's willing to do. But yeah.
Well, no, it's not just that, but I think in the next one he's immature as well.
Yes, the next one more so. Yeah.
But I think just generally what's happened is that we always knew that Nog was older than Jake. I don't know by how much, but he always was. And I think,
I'm not sure he was. They were in the same class.
Oh, they're only in the same class because there was only one class and it contained all the ages.
I think it only seems older because he's played by an older actor.
No, I'm sure he was older because I'm sure there's episodes where they're teenagers where he says things like, I'm older than you. And also Cisco calls him out and says, yeah, Noggy's whatever age and you're not that age yet.
All right.
So I'm sure he is. I think what you're seeing is that Nog is now an adult, as in he has responsibilities and he has things to lose. Jake doesn't have any responsibilities, and at the moment he doesn't really have a lot to lose, and that's the difference you're seeing, I think.
Right, quite possibly. Yeah. Thank you, Doreen.
Thank you. And we've heard from Wayne, who says, and with the words, we have to get that card for my dad, it's Jake and Nog keeper time. What an absolutely delightful episode. Again, I'm being hypocritical because it eschews the season arc yet again in favour of a comedy episode, but it was nicely done and I'll forgive it. It doesn't eschew the arc.
No, the arc's way there in the background.
But it's the B plot, not the A. Wayne says, it did feel somewhat out of character as an episode in the sense that few of the principal cast were out of character. O'Brien distractedly wandering off for a hollow kayaking expedition, leaving a cadet and a civilian to do his job.
But he's only doing that himself because there was a member of the crew who was sick, so he was clearly peeved off, therefore he's quite happy they offered to do that instead of him. So I don't think that's.
And I think it was probably a job that normally would have been given to
a lower ranked person anyway. Yes,
I think so. Bashir longing for his teddy.
That is a bit weird.
Unless, as I said,
you gave it quite a good spin that actually wasn't spelt out in the episode.
No, it wasn't. I'm not trying to claim it was, but yeah. And Wayun being played for laughs too. Yeah, but Wayun, he's played for laughs. That's not the first time that we.
No, he's very much a two-edged sword.
Yeah,
Wayun,
it's part of his character, I think. The whole thing felt like one of those what-if episodes, like the Simpsons Halloween specials. A bit of fun and not really meant to be part of canon. The only duff note for me was Nog sneaking into Lita's room while she was sleeping. That was all kinds of wrong and creepy.
It was really. He did that far too easily, didn't he? And yes, when he's sort of leaning over her while she's asleep in the bed, he's like, okay, is he going to grope her or go for the teddy? Oh, that's a relief.
Yeah. It would have been better for him to have done something for his dad, and his dad, who sleeps with her anyway, to give the teddy.
I don't know if he's sleeping with her at this point, but yes, you're right. To done it via Rom would have been better, but
I think, and less creepy.
Probably yes, but there probably wasn't quite room to fit Rom into this as well. But anyway,
he says, so a side story, but a really good one.
Yeah, I do think that's missing the point that actually in the background is the main story.
It's the non-aggression
So it's not like they've completely forgotten about the arc or anything, it's just in the background.
Yeah.
And Sampo has this to say: the pre-credits sequence was a mixed bag. I really liked the scene in Sisko's quarters, nice and moody. My only complaint is that it came pretty much out of nowhere. Up until now, no one seems to have been that bothered with the Dominion, even though they bloody well should have been.
No, he's got a good point.
Yeah, we were making that point ourselves last time, weren't they? That,
Yeah.
Sisko's like imagining that there isn't
Too
going to be a war.
blasé, yeah.
But after that quite good scene, we end the teaser with Jake going to bid for a baseball card. What an efficient way to bring down my expectations for the rest of the episode. Luckily, the episode turned out to be quite a good bit of fluff. Jake and Nog interacting with the crew as well as Quite Mad Geiger are all written and acted very well. Although this is a comedy episode, nobody acts out of character. Jake is a bit over the top with his obsession, especially towards the end. But on the other hand, we saw in The Visitor how obsessive Jake can get, so that's in his character as well. That's a very good point. Yeah,
it is, yeah.
When he gets focused on something, he ignores stuff that he shouldn't. We also get a surprisingly non-hostile visit from Kai Winn, who hatches no evil plots or schemes whatsoever this week. Perhaps she's on holiday. And actually seems genuine when asking Sisko for help. But in the end, my favourite part of the episode is Wei-Yun. Him meeting with Winn places two politicians face to face, even if Winn is determined they are nothing alike. But the best part is the ending, when Jake and Nog are transported aboard his purple ship of death. His mood swing from intimidating to amused when he realises the situation is just perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does seem threatening to be in with, doesn't he?
does.
Yeah. And he's so delighted about Geiger's cellular boredom theory that it makes me want to squee.
Yeah.
And in the end, everyone is happy and there is a newfound sense of optimism in the air. I'm sure nothing bad will happen in the next episode.
What did Parry think of this one?
Hello, Orgs. Parry here to talk about In the Cards. Now, I unashamedly love this episode. I was actually a bit nervous watching it because I wondered if it would have held up as well. You see, I remember watching this, I was borrowing a friend's videos of Deep Space Nine while I was at uni, and it was another friend kind of got at me because obviously we have what happens in the next episode. We had a lot of stuff in season 5, and all I could go on about was this episode. And basically, this is how you do a good comedy tie-in episode when you've got an arc plot. So it's a Jake and Nog comedy episode, and in fact, it's vaguely reminiscent of, I can't remember the episode, but remember the one where they'd bought some self-sealing Sten bolts, and they exchanged that for some yamak sauce, and they exchanged that for something else. It was reminiscent of that, but instead we have this idea of them. Everyone in the station is basically miserable because the Dominion there's basically ships being lost in skirmishes. You have that sort of depressed dinner. And they're looking for a way to cheer everyone up. Well, specifically, Jake wants to cheer up his dad, which is a nice thing, again. And so him and Nog team up. And I do like the kind of comedy. I mean, the comedy interplay with them I mentioned last episode is just excellent. So you have their sort of standard comedy interplay. And they end up having to do favours for basically a slightly eccentric scientist called Dr. Geiger. And it means that they sort of work out this way of exchanging favours for the things he needs in his list. I mean, this has got a sort of minor video game in it, if I'm honest. But bear in mind that the serious plot still go on. The actual subplot of this episode is that the Dominion are meeting to arrange a non-aggression pact with bajor, and you're not instantly sitting there saying, "Oh, Kai Winn, damn you." It's actually, her point is valid, and indeed, as we'll maybe see in the next episode, very valid indeed, that the Federation can't defend everywhere. Bajor might fall. They might have to fall back to protect Earth or Vulcan or Andor or Terral or Beta Z. All these places might fall because, just the Federation there's only so many ships. And, how would she protect her people best? And I did like Sisko's thing of stall them, because I can't think of one at the moment. And that's kind of the serious bit. So we do still have, it's not like some of the Ferengi episodes where the whole main plot's gone on hold. It's moving, and indeed it's gradually rising to head. There's a definite feeling of something accumulating, but there's also a lot of really good comedy in this. Wei-Yun's in good comedic form. I love the sniping between him and Winn as well, and him and Sisko. I do like the way they kind of snipe at each other. And Jeffrey Combs is excellent as always. But the main plot, the Jake Nog plot, just is thoroughly entertaining, and I love the sort of speech by Sisko at the end. With the the fact that the stations, there's sort of a change in mood because everyone's had a chance to do something fun, and to put it this way, his speech about, whenever things are darkest, you can always find something to make you smile. And I like that. It's something I've kind of tried to live by. And indeed, often the thing I've found that will make me smile is the Deep Space Nine episodes in the cards. So I think it's a really success for that. It's considering what we're about to go into with the deadly serious stuff, it's a really nice break, just a breather, but without feeling that things are stalling, that things aren't progressing. So yeah, excellent episode, easily one of my favourites of this season, and it's been a strong season so far. So I'll be back shortly to talk about A Call to Arms, but until then, bye for now.
Bye. Thank you. Yeah, they needed this episode before the relative darkness of the next one, I think. It's fair to say. And a completely comedy episode would have seemed out of place as well. But the fact that they've got the build-up for the next episode in the background, I think it's a perfect way of doing it. It's really clever.
And the motivation for the whole thing is the fact that everything's getting darker as well.
Yeah.
They're not trying to pretend that everything's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is how to do a comedy within an arc. And it is a nice breather without stalling everything. So yeah, I agree.
Drew and Tracy have this to say.
So we just watched In the Cards.
We did. That was a nice sombre opening credits scene, wasn't it? When they're all sitting around.
Oh yes.
The captain had invited them all for dinner, and they're all sitting around. And nice to see like Julian trying to get Kira drunk with and topping up her glass. It was quite sombre, and you're thinking, oh, what the fuck's going on? And then, like within 5 seconds of them all leaving, he gets a comms, doesn't he? And it says, oh, Kai Winn is coming.
Oh, yes.
And to be fair, both I and Ben swore under our breath.
Yes.
For fuck's sake. I just love the way he rolls his eyes.
Yep.
That was funny.
He's an eye roller.
That was a good start.
It was. I liked it when Wei Young come on board and he was being his slimy self and that, and Sisko was just like, I don't like the Dominion, I don't like you.
No, exactly. But I've never noticed before that he's got purple eyes.
Yeah, he's got kind of bluey purple eyes.
Ammo likes the fact that he's a bit purple.
Definitely.
He's got a bit of a credit there.
We liked Bashir's teddy bear, didn't we?
I did. Good. Yeah. Kukalaka, Kukalaka, Kukalaka the bear. Everyone knows his name. I like that. We're going to have some references to Kukalaka.
Definitely.
Going forward, I'm sorry. So they're in the bidders room. I can't remember what his name was. Now, the guy who won the human box.
Dr. Gregor or something, yeah.
So they're in his room, and they're talking about the cellular entertainment chamber. At that point, you'd go, I think we need to leave. Right? But they don't. And then he carries on, and then Nog says to Jake, can I have a word? And in my head, I heard Nog say, he's a fucking nut. We need to get out of here right now.
I guess so.
But they kind of entertained him.
Because they wanted the card, though, didn't they?
Yeah, I know, but you need to be fair. It's a baseball card at the end of the day.
Yeah, but he wanted it for Ben, didn't he? Yeah. I like the fact that for once, Winn was like, she was actually trying to do her best for Beja, wasn't she? It was great when she was sort of saying to Sisko what her options were.
Yeah.
And even Sisko, I thought he was going to go, you got to just say, we reject it. But even he was like being, what's the best thing to do for Beja? Stall them for time. So if you need to, you can join the Dominion.
And also, she did kind of say to him, because of your decision previously, you have put us in this position now that I need to make like a decision of the lesser of two evils. Yes. So you kind of did feel for her.
I did, yeah. She's actually doing like a proper job. And
for once.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And the other great bit was again when old slimy Wei Young tried to slime up to her again, and she holds it and just says, "We're nothing alike." Excellent.
It was just a pause, and
but
she
once
went,
I was just like, "Oh, that's great."
But it was a pause when she went, "No, we're nothing alike." I did roar at that bit. That was really funny. So the Dominion, i.e. Wei Young and his cronies and whatever, they can feel the vibration.
We could definitely, because they've got really good ears, haven't they? They said that before.
All the fucking machinery and the cellular entertainment chamber going on. They can hear that hum.
Yeah.
But Deep Space Nine can't pick anything up. Right. And you did say to me they've probably got a dampening field.
Yeah.
Well, no, they haven't, because if they had a dampening field, he wouldn't be able to hear it upstairs.
No, this is the thing, though, isn't it? They've probably got a dampening field, and he probably shielded it, because he was always, who were them people that he thought were chasing him, the whoever's. Oh, right. He probably had that all hidden, but you wouldn't think, I'll cut the noise out. So Wei Young could hear it with his good ears, couldn't he? That's the thing.
He's good ears.
It's old school hearing it, but the rest he couldn't. they couldn't detect.
Yeah, okay, we'll let you have that. So it's one of these episodes where, there's a lot going on, and you've got the main plot with Jake and Nog, but then you've got like the Dominion and like the Jem'Hadar and like Winn and stuff going on. But I enjoyed this.
I thought it was a lovely, heartwarming episode. Yeah, it was really lovely feeling at the end, like Cisco saying, I can't quite understand it, but then you saw everyone thinks it's because they've all had what they wanted, and it's thanks to Nog and Jake.
And at
I
the
thought
end,
it's lovely. It's great.
When Cisco gives Jake a hug, you feel it.
Oh,
every time
great.
these two are together, I don't care. I really feel it. And like the double handshake that he gave to Nog, I just think, there was a lot of love going on in the last 2 seconds, and I liked it.
It was a lovely, heartwarming episode, and I just thought it was great. Splendid stuff.
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Leave it there?
Definitely.
Lovely. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Wayun's eyes are lilac, which means that sometimes they might look blue or grey, and other times they might look more obviously purple, but they are actually lilac. I can remember reading something that Jeffrey Combs had done a talk about wearing the lilac contact lenses and how much of an irritant they were and how hard they were to wear all the time. But yeah, I do appreciate them. I did at one point consider that when I wore glasses all of the time that maybe I would get prescription lilac contact lenses, because if you've got to wear contact lenses, then why not make your eyes purple at the same time? But then I ended up not needing glasses all the time, so that kind of went by the wayside. But if I ever end up with contact lenses, I'm going to make my eyes purple, because why wouldn't you?
Okay.
Getting on to the actual episode rather than making your eyes purple. Yes, it is realistic in terms of the way even horrible politicians like our MP sometimes do try and do the best for the people they're supposed to be representing. But
proper job win. I like that phrase.
Yes. But she calls out Ben for his decision. She's like, you've put me in this place because you said no to us joining the Federation. And she's right. I'm not sure a dampening field really works as to why no one else picks up the hum on the station. It might obscure things from the sensors, and it might be why Odo doesn't pick it up. But there's loads of Ferengi on the station.
Yes.
Where you can hear that shit, the Ferengi can hear that shit.
Probably.
I would say that's the only thing that for me doesn't quite work, really.
Yes, I can't help feeling that Tracy, you didn't swear under your breath. I can't believe you ever swear under your breath. But Rupert the Bear. Oh, wow. Haven't heard that tune in a long while.
Rupert the Bear, everyone sing his name. Rupert the Bear, everyone come and join in all of his games.
And yes, heartwarming is definitely the phrase for this episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
But let's find out what the Llama God thinks.
Llama God's log, start date, check jig, unyig, yayig. This week, to show the crew of the Discovery that they can party equally hard, the crew of Deep Space Nine party, really, really badly, actually. I mean, geez, that is a bit of a downer of an opener to an episode. But yeah, no, this episode is really very interesting. It's ostensibly a kind of comedy episode, but this is really more like it. This is exactly the sort of episode that I think we've been complaining about for a little while now. Obviously, I haven't heard the last podcast that you've done, although I suspect that you would have complained about something completely different. Sorry about that. Because there's been a few episodes recently where they've needed a B plot that is tied into the war, and that's exactly what we do here. So we've got an episode which is all about Jake trying to cheer his father up, but this actually works because it is tied into the war and everything else that's going on, and we get a lot of background details as well, and definitely some hints as to what's going to come in the next episode. So yeah, there's a lot of world building going on in the background, and it's really good. I mean, for starters, we find out that the rats really are leaving the sinking ship, but that's okay because Kai Wynn's coming to pay them a visit, and that's great. That's not so good. Given that Ben was playing with a baseball when Kai Wynn arrives, I was expecting him to look at her, but oh well, never mind. And although it seems that this is going to be a Ferengi episode at the start, it's all to do with a baseball card that apparently has been found aboard a Gallic freighter, Hashanvar. And yeah, okay, it's about baseball, but not really. It's a little collectible thing that might cheer Cisco up, and it's really sweet. This is such a really sweet episode with Jake just trying to make his dad happy, and it's really good. This is very similar to, I can't remember the name of that first season episode with the self-sealing stem bolts, but this is a very similar storyline with Jake and Nog as they try and swindle and deal their way through the station to try and get their hands on what they actually want, and we discover that there's a guy who's discovered the secret to immortality. Now, fittingly, Jeffrey Combs is in this episode as well, although, you know, he should be, because he is the reanimator, and the whole idea of cellular boredom, cellular entertainment, that's something that really, really appeals to me. I like that idea. It's obviously bollocks science, but it's a really funny idea, especially considering how bored the cells of my body are becoming at the state of the world right now. They could really do with some entertainment, some lightheartedness. So yeah, no, if I had the spare cash, I'll be chipping in, but this guy's obvious scam just in the vain hope. And it is great that Winn gets in on this as well. I mean, obviously he's got an interest in prolonging his own life, given how often he seems to lose it. But yeah, I really like the general glee and excitement that Winn has at discovering this technology. It's really lovely. We also get to find out that Nog is also clearly his uncle's nephew, as he manages to somehow sneak into a sleeping Lita's bedroom to steal the teddy bear. That's very creepy, but a very Frankie thing to do. Actually, no, it's not a Frankie thing to do, because the Frankie wouldn't creep around, because they don't believe that women have their own actual agency. They're objects to be possessed, so why would they even need to creep around? So yeah, no, it's not. It's clearly Nog's learning things from stuff. Okay. And again, that's a silly little plot with Bashir's teddy bear, but it's really funny as well, and I love it. And we get to see just how good Jake has become at bullshitting. I mean, he doesn't manage to bullshit the bullshitter, Wayne sees right through him, but it is wonderful to see, and that's exactly the sort of thing that's going to earn Wayne's respect. And speaking of which, it's really interesting to see how far Kai Winn has come, given that she actually goes to ask Cisco for advice, and that is a really big thing, and obviously it is a portent of things that are going to come. So yeah, so this is in general a silly light episode, but it builds on a lot of stuff. And yeah, it is interesting that we're now, this is the penultimate episode of the season, and still, the tensions of the war are still a background thing. I know that a lot's been said on this podcast about the fact that this isn't a heavily arc plot-based series in quite the same way that we used to with Netflix series, for example, now. But I seem to remember in my mind that there was a lot more about the war in this season as well. And I know that season 6 pops up, but I'm just wondering if that's because, this was very different at the time to anything that Star Trek had done before. I mean, it's still not in the same level as Babylon 5, say, but for Star Trek it was different. So I wonder if that's why with Deep Space Nine we tend to think that it's more archy than it actually is, because it was more archy than any Star Trek they've done before. Anyway, well, that was the penultimate episode of the season. Let's see if they can actually pull off a decent end of season cliffhanger. Here we go then.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that thing about we remember it being more archy than it is, just because we weren't used to Trek being archy at all. At all,
yeah.
So yeah, that's right. I think you're on the button with that.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that they both Jake and Nog call out the fact that it's bollocks science themselves as well. I mean, they're not pretending like this is real.
They're like, no, he's nuts. But there's nuts and there's a danger to the station, and they're like, it's not a danger to the station. He's just mad. We can give him these things.
He's made. Cool. Yeah. Well, let's find out what the final episode is like then, shall we? Splendid.
Yeah.
The assault,
just attack and get it over with,
was inevitable.
I don't suppose you would like to surrender.
Absolutely not. Retaliation.
Prepare for a Dominion attack.
Their only hope.
This is war.
But for Cisco and his crew,
prepare for a final assault.
It may be their last stand.
All weapons fire at will.
Fire. On the next Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
So call to arms then. Rom and Lita are disagreeing over wedding dresses, with Rom favouring the less is more approach.
Yeah. And I love that. It's 2 handkerchiefs and a loincloth.
We could lose the handkerchiefs. Meanwhile, convoys of Jem'Hadar ships are swarming through the wormhole and heading to Cardassia, which may just be the A-plot this time,
Yeah.
Did I say convoy? Convoy! Hey, tune.
What tune?
Convoy.
Huh?
Oh, we'll find out.
Okay.
Quark has been smuggling in yamak sauce, clearly thinking the Cardis will be back. And Kira reveals to Dax that she and Odo aren't talking as a result of the revelations of Children of Time, so that's referenced anyway.
I like this scene. I love the whole, what is a yammock anyway?
Yes.
But I also like sort of Dax's reaction, like, because she says something like, that explains a lot, and Kira's like, really? She's like,
no, I didn't know what to say.
I didn't know what to say. And I just love the way that seems...
It seemed really natural, actually, didn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
Nog has heard a rumour that turns out to be true, because he's a Ferengi, that the Romulans have signed a non-aggression pact with the Dominion, and have also made successful overtures, it turns out, with the Miradorn, remember them? And
They're the twins.
That's right, and the Tholians as well. A web of intrigue, you might say. Not, of course, that we'll see any Tholians in this series.
No.
Spoilers. Because they look stupid, let's face it, as Enterprise proved. Sisko has gotten Starfleet to agree to stop the Dominion sending any more ships through the wormhole by mining it. The problem is cloaking them and having enough to stop the enemy. Rom is getting cold feet about the imminence of the wedding. This is very much our B-plot. But also manages to come up with the genius idea of self-replicating mines in the midst of his worries. And it finishes off with O'Brien and Dax saying, I need to go off and do this and do that. And Rom's, I need to go to waste extraction.
I like that.
Rom continues to be a wonderful, wonderful character. Really comes into his own this season and next.
And the thing is, he kind of is still bumbling, but there's
with
the intelligence there.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's all mixed up in him.
Yeah. Starfleet isn't sending any reinforcements to protect them, and indeed all the ships that used to be there in the rest of this season have mysteriously disappeared, although this gets sort of partially explained later on. Odo and Kira have a frank chat about putting their feelings on hold during the crisis, which is kind of a relief for us all, to be honest.
It is, but it makes sense. They've got to be able to work together, and if they're not working together. But also, Odo has picked up on the fact that Kira isn't comfortable with the idea of being anything other than friends, and so he's not being a creepy stalker man. Mm-hmm. He's being a nice human... Well, he's not a human being, but you know what I mean. He does what, MPs, Hollywood stars, all those people can't do.
The Defiant is laying the mines, which, when we see the actual things that O'Brien's working on, they're garden composters, apparently.
Are they?
Yeah. This leads to Weyoun paying a visit to deliver an ultimatum, remove the mines, or they will take the station. And this is him at his evil, slimy self, suggesting compromise, blaming the Cardassians for the build-up of forces. He does feel like an integral part of the series now, doesn't he? I don't think really Deep Space Nine quite feels like Deep Space Nine until we get Weyoun, it has to be said, because he's such a wonderful character. Despite the assurances, Sisko knows the Dominion are going to attack as soon as they can get their fleet over, but the Defiant isn't done laying its eggs yet. Mines, sorry. He's also decided to endorse the Bajoran non-aggression pact with the Dominion to protect them, and this, of course, dates back to Rapture and the prophecy there. The Bajorans evacuate, but Garak is refusing to go, getting a kiss from Zial as she leaves. The wedding takes place. Nog calls Lita Moogie for the first time, which is sweet. Even Quark manages a sort of congratulations hug for Rom. Ish, before saying he'll give the marriage 2 months. Yeah. Then Lita's evacuated, but Rom is staying to work with the chief, we think. We get a rip-off of Casablanca, the problem of two newlyweds. Of course, I'm only recognising it from Red Dwarf, which is ripping off Casablanca, but there we go.
Yeah, it's that one where he thinks that she's another android and she's like a green blob.
That's right, yes. No, that's not polymorph, is it?
No.
This is Editing Peter. It's the Red Dwarf episode Camille. General Martok hails to say the Dominion is on their way, and then Dukat breaks through and offers Sisko the chance to surrender. And Sisko responds with a "Never give up, never surrender." He's badass.
But I love this bit because it's like, we're going to take Terok Nor, we're going to... And it's like, no, we're not. You behave.
We're going to take Terok Nor, but Weyoun steps in when it's Damar actually talks about then going on to take over Bajor. It's like, hang on, we just signed a non-aggression pact with them. Can't be doing with that. And the two Cardassians are like looking at each other and, we might.
And he's like, Dukat's like, I never did. And he's like, you are part of the Dominion. And it's like, yeah.
Yes, sir. But it's one of the images that sticks in my mind of this particular episode with them with those scanner things coming out of their necks, which are really cool. I like those. Dax has got another hour's work of laying to do, but the Dominion is only 20 minutes away, so she probably won't finish her poo. I mean, drop in the mines. Sorry. Jake is assisting Bashir, handing out medikits, which is a nice sort of follow-up of sorts to Nor the Battle to the Strong, where he ended up stranded with the Doctor fighting Klingons. God, that seems like a long time ago now, doesn't it? The music, as everyone is getting set for the battle, is really good, and indeed the music throughout this story is fantastic. Odo and Garak share the fact that they feel a bit useless. Quite why Odo wasn't evacuated isn't really explained, but there we go. The tailor
why would he be?
He's part of the Bajoran security services. What's he going to be doing there?
But then why wasn't Kira evacuated?
That's also a good point as well. But she officially kind of resigns and says she's sticking around, whereas he doesn't. So the tailor reflects on how he could have shot Guldakat way back in Way of the Warrior. He'd shoot a man in the back.
It's the only way. I love it.
Robinson steals all the scenes. Quark isn't leaving his bar, and Rom isn't leaving his brother, and Quark kisses him.
It's so sweet.
Oh, you're an idiot, but I love you. Oh. The cool weaponry they got for Way of the Warrior gets activated again, which I always think should be accompanied by the Thunderbirds music as it emerges, but there we are. Kira attends her official complaint on behalf of the Bajoran government, then joins Sisko's side.
Yeah.
We see the joint Dominion-Cardassian fleet, and it looks damn cool.
It does. Lots of purple.
Yeah, and it's nice to see the smaller Hideki-class Cardassian ships as well. I've not seen one of those for a while. They're used in particular for sort of strafing runs on the station. The fight begins, and whilst the ships look good, it has to be said the overlaid explosions aren't up to scratch.
No, they're not.
Particularly on DVD, they do not look good.
No.
Aboo. So they really need to redo these effects, but they're never going to because it's too expensive and they won't sell enough Blu-rays. Aboo! The Defiant is shot at badly, but Martok comes to the rescue, and with the last mine set, they return to the station.
I love that, Martok's like, we will handle the Jemadar.
Yeah.
And then Dax is like, who says there's never a Klingon when you need one?
Yeah, and he's having fun,
He is. And so she, and I like the interaction between the two of them.
Once the mine's cloak, Weyoun starts snapping a Ducat, which is always good value, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whenever a wave of Dominion ships entering the system, Sisko gives the order to evacuate, and it begins to feel very Empire Strikes Back at this point, doesn't it? To activate the iron cannon!
Nobody loses a hand, though.
No, that's later on, of course. As Worf parts with Dax to join Martok, she agrees to marry him.
Ooh la la, they're getting married!
They are indeed! Oh. And at this point, everybody seems to part ways, setting things up for Season 6 in many ways, because we'll be following different groups of people on different arcs. Sisko gives a final rousing speech, which is fantastic.
When I first took command of this post, all I wanted was to be somewhere else. Anywhere but here. But now, 5 years later, this has become my home, and you have become my family. And leaving the station, leaving you, is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. But this war isn't over yet. I want you to know that while we were keeping the Dominion occupied, a Starfleet Klingon task force crossed the border into Cardassia and destroyed the Dominion shipyards on Taurus 3. Your sacrifices, our sacrifices, made that victory possible. But no victory can make this moment any easier for me. And I promise I will not rest until I stand with you again. Here. In this place where I belong.
And he talks about this place where I belong. And it just made me think of...
The lifters up where we belong.
You know?
Cheesy. Nice to see how far he's come since the pilot, anyway. He also lets us know that whilst they were delaying the Dominion, the rest of Starfleet destroyed some shipyards in Cardassian space. All the rest of Starfleet. They couldn't spare a single ship, apparently, to help defend the station. And when you consider that if they'd failed to mine the wormhole, they would have been in deep doo-doo. That seems a bit of a stupid decision, but there we go. Perhaps... Well, and we know for a fact, at the end of the episode, that Starfleet has an awful lot of ships, so it's not like they didn't have a few to spare. Bizarre.
Well, maybe some of them were staying behind for strategic...
It's not the impression they give, though, is it? But anyway. In an amusing turn of events, Garak joins Sisko's party. Meanwhile, Kira welcomes the Dominion to Deep Space Nine on behalf of the Bajoran government, having first wiped the computer, including all of Bashir's browsing history, thankfully. Rom turns up at Quark's, admitting for all to hear that he's there as a spy. Dole! He could have said that a bit quieter. And then he spots Jake, who's going to be reporting from the front line. Interesting stuff. Sensibly, Cisco decides not to risk everyone to go back for him. So that's
he says,
cute.
whether I like it or not, he's a man. No?
No.
Or do you think he's a muppet of a man?
No, possibly. Well, fantastic music cue. Ducat struts onto the station looking like a dog with two dicks, as my dad would say.
This is a great victory for Cardassian.
And the Dominion.
In his office, he finds Cisco's baseball, a message.
I'll be back.
The Defiant and the Rotaran join the Federation/Klingon fleet, which is all the spaceships. And bless him, our son said, so do we know the names of these spaceships? He's like, yes, we do. Here are all our attack wing versions. Yes. Well, some ships were rendered in CG. The final scene that we see is the last to use physical models and utilise the new designs from First Contact, that one. We also see a couple of Defiant-class ships, so they're now in production, obviously. It's not just an experimental thing. Originally, the Defiant and Rotaran would have been heading in the same direction as the fleet already was, if you see what I mean, so joining them at the back. But what we get instead is them turning round as the fleet comes back towards us, giving the impression they're going straight for Deep Space Nine, which is never going to be the aim originally, and they actually had to rewrite the beginning of Season 6 as a result. But we'll find out how that pans out in a couple of weeks' time. But there we go. I would argue this is the best season finale of Trek ever. I seem to remember
you think it's even better than Best of Both Worlds Part 1?
Yes. Yeah, I do, actually.
Really?
Yes. Absolutely fantastic. The only thing that could be improved is the quality of the effects, which they weren't able to do cheaply at the time. They couldn't afford at the time to blow models up, which is what they'd have to do. But other than that, literally, this is a fantastic, fantastic season finale.
It is.
So much happening, so much intrigue, so many lovely character moments, so many spaceships.
Okay. From your point of view, I get it, because it's but I still...
We've never seen these many spaceships in Trek before and on the screen at the same time.
I don't think it's a spoiler to say that the first episode of Season 6 is good.
Mm-hmm.
Bearing that in mind, you could argue that on that basis... this is a better cliffhanger, because I don't think Best of Both Worlds Part 2 is as good as Best of Both Worlds Part 1.
I don't know, I seem to remember we rated them pretty highly. I mean, they're good, don't get me wrong, I just think this is better.
Because I think Best of Both Worlds Part 1 is better than this, because I don't think you're going to get much more jeopardy than your captain being turned into a Borg.
Except with Part 1, it is a long build-up for that. Isn't it? There's an awful lot of stuff with what's the character's name? I can't remember. Shelby, yeah, sniping with Riker, and it takes a long while for actually Picard to have been captured and turned
whereas
into
this
Lucas.
doesn't waste any of the time.
No, we're pretty much, they hit the accelerator pretty much as soon as the teaser's finished, don't they? So
yeah, but I guess the difference is that particularly if you were watching it the first time, you didn't know if Picard was coming back or not, because there were rumours circulating that you hadn't actually...
And I'm not arguing that Best of Both Worlds didn't have a greater impact on wider television watching community, let alone geek community, because there are loads of people watching Next Generation back then, particularly when it hit that cliffhanger. I mean, that was a big cultural moment, not just for Trek fans, but for television watchers generally. Whereas Deep Space Nine never had that impact. People just went into it in a bigger way. But for me... it's a much better...
Because I think the thing is that you've got... with Best of Both Worlds, it's a real cliffhanger because you don't know what's going to happen. Whereas with this one, you've got the baseball. You've got him picking it up and going, he'll be back.
And with Best of Both Worlds, there was that rumour at the time that Patrick Stewart might not be coming back.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, Best of Both Worlds is a better cliffhanger because you genuinely don't know how it's going to end. And that's rare. Mm-hmm. For TV series,
but we didn't know exactly how this, and we knew obviously they'd get the station
we knew
back.
It was because of the baseball, and that for me,
but it's not going to be as straightforward as them just turning up and taking the station next.
No, but for me, it makes Best of Both Worlds the better cliffhanger.
I see. Well, you're wrong, but there we go.
What you mean is you don't agree?
Yes, that's the same thing, isn't it?
No.
Joking!
Why do you get to say that I'm wrong? Why can't I say you're wrong?
Because I was the bestest, so no.
At what, exactly?
At things and stuff. I'm joking! Don't look at me like that. What do other people think? Are they wrong like you? I'm getting the look, folks. Quite deservedly, it has to be said.
Yeah. Sampo writes, well, I'm not sure, but this might be the biggest change of status quo ever in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting too spoilery, it helps that the situation won't be resolved in the beginning of the next episode.
Yep.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. The Cold War between the Federation and Dominion finally turns hot as the Romulans sign a non-aggression pact with Dominion, and Sisko finally decides he will not allow more hostile ships into the Alpha Quadrant. Winn is all business this time, and it's clear things will be coming to a head. There's loads of continuity in this episode, which is good. Nog and Lita get married. We finally find out why Sisko prevented Bajor from joining with the Federation. Kira and Odo ponder their relationship. Jake continues his writing career, and so on. But eventually the Dominion comes to take the station. I really liked the scene on the bridge between Winn and Dukat. When they visited DS9 together, there was tension between them, but they offered a united front. Now there are no outsiders to hear.
Yeah.
Winn has no problems overriding Dukat and exerting his authority over him and reminding him who's really in charge.
I think it's fair to say tensions are already visible here,
Yes,
aren't they?
yes. The space battle is quite epic, but also a bit odd. There's a lot going on, but it consists mainly of explosions, and it's a bit hard to follow what's actually happening. My biggest problem is the Dominion didn't just take the whole fleet to destroy the Defiant first, and then attack the station. Space is three-dimensional, you know, they could have gone around it. And of course, during the battle, I did wonder where the Federation and Klingon ships guarding the station go. There was quite a good reason for it, since during the battle those ships helped destroy Dominion shipyards. It's plural, it's more than one shipyard.
Right.
Maybe the Federation...
But that still doesn't... Oh, I see, you mean different... I didn't get the impression it was lots of different locations, just
there would have
several shipyards in the one location. I assume that was
No,
what
there
I
would
meant.
have been more than one location.
Oh, right. But didn't they say the Dominion shipyards at such and such a place? I thought. But anyway, don't worry, that's a minor detail.
He says, but this episode ends with Starfleet evacuating the station, which happens surprisingly easily and quickly. But in any case, the Dominion's now in control of DS9, and Sisko leads a big-ass fleet and vows to take the station back. A great way to end the season, and I can't wait for Season 6.
Yeah. And that thing about three-dimensional space, by the way, the whole point is that the Deep Space Nine is sitting right by the wormhole. It's a very specific point in space.
They moved it there, didn't they, deliberately in Season 1?
So that's why they're it's not a matter of getting round of it, because they've got to get to this specific point, which the station is effectively guarding, almost blocking effectively. So yeah, okay, cool. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And indeed, we can't wait for Season 6 either. Wayne has this to say, an exciting episode, this to be sure, but I have a number of issues with it. First, the self-replicating mines. What are they using to replicate with? Surely to make another mine it would require matter equivalent to its own. Sure, that could be stored in a much denser form, but even then, how many times could it replicate? 2, 3? Maybe that's all it needs to produce. Or are we meant to believe that maybe they convert light energy from the nearest star into matter? Oh, he's going deep into this. Either way, it feels as if the writer has a fairly slim grasp of the laws of physics. It's stupid ideas like this that make life difficult for other writers. They should have kept the replicators to just making food. Well, there's maybe a point there. Next, Starfleet's priorities. Again, Deep Space Nine sits at the only entrance to the Alpha Quadrant for the Jem'Hadar. Blockading and defending this extreme bottleneck should be Starfleet's top priority. Ah, yes, but of course there's already immense amounts of Jem'Hadar ships in Cardassian space, so it's too late for that. Yeah, when it comes to it, they can't spare any ships. Not one, yeah. The fact they couldn't spare any,
Yeah,
just
any
one or
is
two.
pushing it.
Neither can the Klingons. Deep Space Nine and the Defiant and Martok's Bird of Prey are on their own. Okay, the fleet was pretty depleted at War 359, but maybe they still haven't made up the numbers. And what's left is pretty spread out and can't get to station time. No, apparently that's not true. A joint Klingon Federation strike force is relatively nearby, destroying a Jem'Hadar shipyard. A valuable target for sure, but I would argue that Deep Space Nine and the Wormhole are an order of magnitude more important in the grand scheme of things. This is made worse by the fact that at the end the Defiant quickly joins a fleet of apparently hundreds of Federation ships. At least some of those must have been enraged to help defend Deep Space Nine. It's utter nonsense. I agree, that is an issue. Next, the attack on Deep Space Nine and the apparent effectiveness of the Jem'Hadar. When we were initially introduced to them, one of their little Scarab ships took out a Galaxy-class ship because they wanted to illustrate how powerful the Jem'Hadar were. Now, all of a sudden, Martok's bird of prey takes on 3 of them without breaking a sweat, and the entire Jem'Hadar fleet struggles to do any significant damage to Deep Space Nine. And they literally did no damage. The station was racked by huge explosions and balls of fire. Goodness gracious. Yet when it cleared, there was not so much as a scratch on the model. So an annoying episode because what's actually going on is very interesting and game-changing, but it's let down by glaring plot holes that are too distracting for me to ignore. Again, a lot of it for me, the weakness of the story is in the effects.
Yeah.
You know, not damaging the station, which is an ongoing thing. It's not just in this one as well. Obviously for cost reasons, but you know, it's just like, come on.
Yeah.
Well. Anyway, and yes, a good point about sort of the fact that Jem'Hadar, a couple of them took out a Galaxy class. Now suddenly they can't go herring into Deep Space Nine and destroy it. But then again, I suppose it's kind of Bajoran property, so therefore they're perhaps holding back a bit because they're supposed to be pals with the Bajorans. You could argue that possibly.
I don't know.
So they're trying to
disable, not destroy.
Shake it up enough to get the Federation to leave,
yeah,
but not destroy it because it actually belongs to the Bajorans.
That would work.
Although, of course, there's an issue over that where it belongs to the Cardassians. But anyway, let's not worry about that now. Thank you, sir. Oh, so many questions. Doreen.
And Doreen writes, "This was great, full of action and ships. I was extremely confused near the beginning because I misheard a line. When Sisko said Weyoun was being sent to speak to him, I nearly swallowed my tonsils because I thought he was being sent to sleep with Sisko.
Probably not.
No. No. I don't know whether you just spawned a load of slash fiction there.
Yeah.
Rom's stream of consciousness was great when he worked out how to cloak the minefield at the wormhole mouth while he was panicking about his longed-for marriage to Lita. Thankfully, unlike the last episode, both Jake and Nog look and act like mature young men. I'm not convinced Jake is being mature, hiding on the station. I'm a reporter.
Yeah, I know.
He's a twat.
And he kind of, you can actually see it on his face where he realises he's made a bit of an error here, hasn't he?
Just a little.
He's like, oh well, they won't harm me because of my dad. Will they?
And you've got that scene, haven't you, in the infirmary where Bashir turns around to me and says, and Bashir is spelt with an I, and it just made me think of Hot Fuzz and
the guy who spells everybody's name wrong.
Yeah, Mr. Angle. Doreen says, I found it interesting that when the episode ended, Nog is with Sisko and Jake is with Rom. It was a nice scene when Quark is telling Rom off yet again for not going with Lita, and the wee kiss from Quark on the back of Rom's head as he gets on with engineering duties was just right. Sisko's goodbye to DS9's people was very powerful. Almost better than most B5 scenes, other those in the last 5.
Oh, don't stir that one up.
It's all kicking off now.
It is, yes. Splendid stuff. All in time for season 6. Well, did the Llama God enjoy the final episode of the season? Let's find out.
Llama God's Log Supplemental. The action hots up as we enter the stressful negotiations, the minefield that is buying a wedding dress. Actually, this is nothing like my own experiences with buying a wedding dress. I mean, I didn't wear a dress, I wore a kilt. But literally, my wife ended up going with the very first dress that we actually saw. I mean, it's quite unique and special, but yeah, this whole thing, I feel like I've missed out. And I'm not at all unhappy. Anywho, the episode itself. Yeah, there's the lovely, long, later stuff, and it's nice that that's a through line in this. That's nice, because, yeah, this is a big episode, big things, lots going on here. This is really what we've been waiting for, I think. Although the interesting revelation here, that O'Brien has convinced Keiko to leave, so that he can spend more time with Bashir, I guess. I mean, for her own and for Molly and Kobayashi's safety, but, yeah, no, I know he really wanted to go rafting instead, didn't he? That's exactly what I wanted. So, yeah. And we discovered that the Romulans are proper bastards. I mean, yeah, they always have been, and we know they are, but yeah, signing an aggression pact with the Dominion, that's, yeah, okay. This isn't a surprising move for them, they are all about the self-interest, but even so, well, it's nice that they're hanging the Federation out to dry, given, it's not like the Federation tried to save them or intercede or, yeah, okay. And so they hit on the idea of mining the wormhole. It's interesting they haven't gone with one of the plans to close the wormhole, because I'm pretty sure that the previous plan that they came up with was going to have succeeded, but it was a dream, or it was sabotaged by a founder? I can't remember. this is probably why I shouldn't think mine while I'm watching Deep Space Nine, but never mind. Yeah, it's interesting that they actually want to keep the wormhole open, but not open until things can be resolved. So interesting implication for Cisco. Is this because of Cisco taking his role as the emissary? It's interesting, and Rom turns out to be a brilliant, mad genius with self-replicating minds, and that is a badass idea, and it's a fantastic solution for stopping the Dominion from getting in without damaging the wormhole. It's great. Well, there's a really nice resolution to the Odo and Kira thing that's been brewing, and it's kind of, it's sweet. It's nice. It's nice to see them just getting back to something they're both happy with, rather than have it ruin everything. It's also nice to see Sisko's response to, talking about fighting the Dominion, but he gets a proper twitchy eye when he does that. He's a bit impatient to go and kick some ass. He wants that. He wants to bring it. But then, of course, Wayne tries to disarm things by claiming that it's all the Cardassians' fault for needing all the fleet. So, it's some wonderful, slimy lying, and Wayne is brilliant as well. And I've said before that, maybe Sisko is a better negotiator than Captain Picard ever was, given the results that he gets. But, his negotiation in this episode, it's pretty badass. His negotiation tactic is to not take prisoners, so that's good. But getting the Bajorans to sign the non-aggression pact, again, that is a big thing. Given that he held up the process for Bajor entering the Federation, I don't know how much shit Sisko would have got into for that, but it is the right decision to be made for Bajor at the time. It's the one that's going to result in the least bloodshed, and it's going to protect the planet. So, no, it's a really good sign. So, although, having done that, why the Bajorans then leave Deep Space Nine is, obviously it's because it will become a target, because Starfleet refusing to leave, but Bajor owns the station, so shouldn't Starfleet leave first? I don't know. Anyway, it's odd. I guess no one questioned the emissary, and who would with those twitchy eyes? Not gonna say no to him. It's also really sweet with Rom pulling a Casablanca. That was lovely. But then the thing that got me really was Quark showing some actual concern for his brother, and that was lovely. Definitely brought a tear to my eye. That. And then the Dominion are on them, and the command is given: Mr. Worf, fire all weapons at stock footage. Yes, it's a lovely spaceship battle. I'm pretty sure that Peter will be very, very happy with this one. But I couldn't help but notice that a lot of the shots we'd kind of seen before. It's true Star Trek style, so you shouldn't be surprised. But it took the edge off ever so slightly that I recognised different things being rematched from the Dead Warrior. But whatever. It was a big space battle, and it was cool. And so and this is a really, really powerful end to the series, because obviously the status quo has been massively upset. We've actually got progression in the war against the Dominion story, and Sisko leaves Bait in his office. So he is not going to be hanging around. So that's definitely setting up a hell of a lot for what is hopefully going to be a very exciting season 6. So I'm just grateful that we're not going to have to wait months to see the resolutions. We're only going to have to wait 2 weeks, unless you're not going to make us watch season 1 Next Generation again, are you? It's not like you actually make us, but I guess we don't have to. But watching season 1 of Next Generation, that's going to be my punishment for having summoned you last time, isn't it? Oh well. Either way, I look forward to listening to this podcast at some point in the hopefully not too distant future, and I look forward to hearing what other people had to say about the episode. Until whatever episodes we watch next, glory to you and your cast.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, there won't be any Star Trek Next Generation Season 1 whilst we're going through the proper arc of Deep Space Nine, i.e. until Deep Space Nine has finished.
We got the bends too much last time, basically. That was what it was. It was like, even I was like, oh gosh, this looks really bad compared to what we're watching on Deep Space Nine at the moment. So,
and I just basically said, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, there we are. Some agreement from us at last. Who'd have thunk it? Yes, there was a lot of the Way of the Warrior footage reused in this, clearly, unfortunately. But there we go. Sort of find and replace Klingon ships with Dominion ships. But there we are. They did indeed find out they couldn't close the wormhole anymore permanently, because if you remember, there was that one with the Bashir founder.
Yeah.
And what they were going to do was put a beam on it to close it, and instead it actually strengthened it, meaning they couldn't do that again. So they did actually reference that, but it was a few stories ago now. And we will hear more from the Romulans later as well. Splendid.
Yes. What did Drew and Tracy make of this?
We just finished watching Call to Arms, didn't we? Last episode of Series 5,
yes.
Yes.
So, I really enjoyed that. There was a lot of tension.
Yeah, it was a good episode.
In this episode.
Yep.
A lot going on.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, interesting stuff. Romulans signing non-aggression pact.
So the Romulans have now become Switzerland, effectively.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Bajoran signed non-aggression pact, but because we know that Sisko wants to
but they're
keep
not quite
safe.
Switzerland. No, that's fine.
No, exactly. End of it, obviously. Dominion taken over. Cardassian Dominion force taken over.
Yeah.
But last last scene, it looks like they're coming back to get
Here
them.
they come to save the day.
Exactly.
Freddy Klingons on their way. I've had to kind of combine Federation and Klingons in there, you know. I can...
Federation Klingon fate.
Yeah. Freddy Klingons.
Exactly.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, another one.
That was good. And you left
Cannot wait now for the new season.
Left the baseball in there, isn't it? He's calling card, isn't it?
See, I just like the way that Goldcat just knows that stuff. Fuck you.
And left Jake as well, although unbeknownst to him.
He didn't leave Jake.
No.
Jake, being a snidey reporter, thinks he's a big man.
Well, you know, he's as Cisco said, he's a man. He's got to make his own decisions now.
But the last time Jake tried to do some serious reporting was when him and Bashir went to that planet.
Which is why I wondered why Jake was helping him out, handing out all like the medical stuff. I thought, oh, is that a callback to that?
Yeah, well, that's what reminded me of the
yeah.
fact that they did work together before.
But yeah, the last time he did it was that. And,
and
it
it
didn't
scared the
work out
shit
so
out of
great
him,
of
didn't
him.
it? So
yeah.
let's see what happens. But don't forget,
Definitely.
it's Bashir with an I.
Yes.
Otherwise, it'd be Basher.
Exactly.
So Yamaka sauce.
Yes.
How many times can they say Yamaka in one scene?
Sounds very Jewish, doesn't
yeah,
it?
exactly. Let's have some Yamaka sauce. What is Yamaka sauce? Who gives a fuck? Just stop saying Yamaka.
Yes.
So you had to explain this view screen thing to me that the Cardassians were wearing, because I didn't quite get it.
In
and then
the
you explained
Jem'Hadar ships.
Yeah, and then you explained that they don't have any windows in the
View
Jem'Hadar
screens,
ships. Yeah.
no.
These are what they see out of, and I was like, what kind of fucking nonsense is that?
Why is it nonsense?
Because how can you be in a ship that has no windows or no view screen? So who's the pilot?
Well,
how
one
the
of
fuck
them
does
is
he know where he's going?
He's got it. He's probably got one of them on permanently, isn't he?
No, that's just all kinds of crazy nonsense.
Fair enough.
So I did think, and it did come later, but I was like, where the fuck is Deep Space Nine's defence?
Oh yeah,
it was explained later that obviously, you know, they couldn't come and defend Deep Space Nine because they were off.
They were attacking the fleet, the Dominion shipyards.
Like, where the fuck are the Vulcans or even the Klingons to a certain extent, which they did come later, but also the fucking Bajoran Resistance. Why are they not coming to help defend Deep Space Nine?
Bajorans are signing on an aggression pact, but I know what you mean.
Not the Resistance. They will be up for having a good fight. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what it was all about. It was explained, wasn't it? It
was later,
a plan.
but I'd written it down.
It was a plan. Draw them in, and then the Federation attacks the shipyards. See, now they've cut off the Dominion. They cut off any reinforcements. They've stopped the shipyard. So if they can just wipe them out now, that's the end of it, isn't it?
Well, let's hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Because like Goldcat just needs a fucking poke in the eye. I said to you when they all came on the ship and they were met by Kira, I was just like, Kira, just get your fucking knife, like knifing one.
The Bajorans are now their allies. Oh, not allies,
whatever.
but you know.
You know, Quark could do a little sly one, couldn't he?
I guess so.
Jab him in the neck.
Yes, all in all, terrific end to the series.
I really enjoyed that. Yeah, you know, you got Cisco
I'd be
sitting
tempted
there.
to just watch the next one right
pensive,
now.
Let's do it. Yes, all pensive. You know, and he's just like, I'll be back.
Yes, exactly.
You know, it's going to be. Anyway, I really enjoyed that.
Yep, good stuff. Let's look forward to the next one.
Yeah, in 5 minutes.
No, we're not going to watch it in 5 minutes. We'll wait and we'll watch it when in good time.
Damn you. Alright, talk to you later, guys.
Bye.
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 Yeah, it's not long to wait before we watch the next one.
No. And you're right that there is a lot of
nervous tension
in this episode.
Yes. Oh gosh, that's a tune I hadn't heard for a while.
And I'm not sure I can personally see the Romulans as Switzerland, though.
Not so much, no. Well, the other way round, really. I don't see the Swiss in that light.
No. But it does fit with the way the Romulans are.
Yeah, no, completely.
In character for them, definitely. But yeah, it's... If you think of the ships as destroying shipyards, plural, it makes sense why...
Yes,
most of them aren't there, but it still doesn't really work that none of them are.
Yeah,
I do think that's a big issue.
I mean, the reason why there aren't any there is it looks far more dramatic if it's just the Defiant and the Rataran, I think, that he's on in this. But it may be more dramatic, but it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. No, the fact that they can't have the whole fleet there.
Yeah, fair
fine,
enough.
Get that, but
just have even if it's just a couple of Nebula or Miranda, even Miranda.
Something.
Yeah.
There should be So
Yes.
they really should.
And then they could have had one of them or two of them blown up just for extra.
Yeah.
It would have made the Jem'Hadar look less
rubbish,
which, was it Llama God made that point, and I think he's probably
Yeah.
quite right, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Hadn't thought of that. Anyways, Purry. Did Purry enjoy this?
Hello again, Purry here to talk about A Call to Arms, and this is a really solid episode. This is kind of the ultimate conclusion to everything we've been building up for, and indeed, the Dominion War started, it has, as Yoda might say if he was in Deep Space Nine. Basically, they decide they've got the Jem'Hadar are reinforcing. There's constantly ships coming through the wormhole. We get this idea. We do have a Jake Nog Rom Lita wedding subplot, which is absolutely adorable, and I do like the discussion. I like the idea of asking Garrick to design his own outfit after we see what the traditional Ferengi one. In fact, it was a traditional Rycian outfit. That discussion was quite fun, and that was a good bit of lightness in what's otherwise quite a serious episode. So we have, and there's so many lovely moments in it. I think I'll miss some if I go over them all. So I loved seeing Dax in command, and indeed she seemed quite annoyed quite often when she's been asked to hurry up. It is just look, off my back, this will take as long as it takes. I liked the scene where they're deciding how to work out the cloaking minefield. It's fantastic, the self-replication, and indeed good to see that Rom was part of that. Again, it's the way his character's grown, and I love the scene between him and Quark later on where Rom is sort of fixing things, and Quark says, "There's humans who can do this. This isn't your fight. You should be on Bajor with your wife." And he says, "I've got to protect the bar," and it's just that sort of and Rom says, "And I've got to protect you." So I loved those scenes, and indeed the bit at the end where Rom says he's a spy. We do have a bloody great battle. We can see where the money's been saved for. Yes, there's stock shots and that sort of thing in it as well, but we're all expecting that's a television budget. They'll make efficiencies where they can, but it was really good to see kind of everything cut loose, and indeed the Rataran kind of cloaking and defending the Defiant. You've got lots of shots of Deep Space Nine blowing things out of space. Like I say, I did reckon it. I'm sure there's some reused shots from Voyager as well in there from Caretaker, but I didn't mind. Good exciting battle. Some lovely stuff as well with Dukat and Weyoun. You can see the tensions already forming in that relationship. And indeed, Bajor enters the non-aggression pact. I loved that scene with Kira actually coming on and saying, "We object to you not handing over the station." Right, duly noted. Right, okay, now reporting for duty. That was brilliant. And just the way it all built up, indeed, there's a space battle, there's lots of planning, but there's lots of things happening. It's so, I'll miss stuff because it's so dense. All the things, it crams so much into an episode, but without feeling that nothing's underserved. It all feels like it gets its good airing. And even the Dax Wharf scene, all that stuff, it just works out really well. So I could just keep gushing. I could just keep going on about how there just isn't a duff scene. I couldn't think of one that seemed off at all. Just everything had, if it was even starting to fall short, a redeeming feature. We get to see a lot of Nog. Nog's doing a lot of the fact that he's manning a station in Ops, he's on a station, the Defiant. You really feel that Nog is now part of this crew. And indeed, Jake staying behind. I like the idea of Jake being a reporter, and he's really beginning to take it seriously, even if it is annoying Sisko at times. So, all these things, it's what makes Deep Space Nine great. We've got recurring characters, we're getting more depth to them. There's the family drama, things are developing. We have marriages, we have we have father-son issues, and we have all the crew just being awesome. Like I say, I think everyone gets their little chance. I loved Odo and Kira as well starting that out. Odo just saying, "Look, we can't deal with this right now. Let's talk about it at some point when all the crises are finished." And I thought that was really good as well. So got nothing but nice things. And of course at the end we see a whole load of spaceships. Now, I'm sure we will talk about the fact that they've learned how to copy and paste a lot, but it's still, I remember at the time looking at it going, oh my god, and that was on VHS, and we were trying to pause it to see if we could spot different classes. I'm sure a friend said he could spot a Sovereign class there. I don't think there was, but, nonetheless, it was really cool to see. And so overall, I can't, again, two really solid episodes. Indeed, I think season 5's been a pretty solid season. I think as we go on, we'll see kind of this weird difference between Deep Space Nine and B5, if you don't mind me running a comparison. B5 was planned. It was seriously plotted out from the beginning. Deep Space Nine's trying to do something similar, but it's all on the hoof, and I think that's why we occasionally get these weird lulls, comedy episodes, distractions. But overall, season 5 has been an incredibly solid season, and I really look forward to season 6, particularly because I know some of the stuff that's coming. So, yeah, but overall, all remains to say is do keep up the good work. I always enjoy the podcast, and I look forward to the next one, and indeed all the disco casts as well. Although we've only got one more of those coming. So until then, bye for now.
Bye, sir. Yes, we're all done on disco now until after Christmas, and we're back with that. But yes, there are no Sovereign Crasts, no, but we do have Saber and Akira.
That's the one you couldn't remember.
Yeah, earlier when I was talking to Luke, I was like, well, what's the name of that one? I can't remember. It's come to me now. Akira class. And yes, all the characters are well served.
Yeah.
I think everybody gets their little chance to shine. Although there's definitely more of both Rom and Nog indeed in this one, which is good.
And one of the characters who doesn't get a chance to shine because she isn't there because she's already buggered off is Keiko, and I am not sorry.
Yes, we don't need her. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody who fed back.
Thank you.
So then, season 5 as a whole is strong as I remembered it being, but perhaps not quite as strong. It's a bit more uneven than I remembered.
Yeah.
There was 1 or 2 episodes where it's like, come on, you're treading water now. We want to be getting on with things. So maybe that's because we just remember the good stuff, I think. And that's kind of going back to, was it Llama God who said that, we remember it being more archy than it actually was just because it was a new thing.
Particularly for Trek.
Yeah.
I mean, it's much more archy than... Because, if you're going from Next Gen... where it's very rare
every day, yes.
that sometimes actions have consequences.
Yes,
next
actually,
gen, but not often.
We did discover that, didn't we? There was a little bit more continuity than we remembered there being, but yeah. Whereas Voyager was very much reset every week, but
yeah. So this is a big change for Trek to be being this way, and I think that's probably why I remember it that way. But I also think that if you've seen it before, season 6 is really memorable because, as you know from having watched this finale of season 5 now, it's all properly kicking off.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's season 6 more than any other season that sticks in people's minds.
Possibly, although having done a quick look through to the episode names to see what we've got coming up, there is still some filler in season 6.
And I can think of at least one episode to which that applies.
There's more than one, sadly. But
No, I'm not saying there isn't. I'm just saying that's just off the bat I can. But I think as well that it's one of those... there were episodes that we've covered in this season that I'd forgotten. They weren't bad episodes, but I had genuinely forgotten them.
Yeah, there was one we covered last time, wasn't there?
Yeah, the Eddington one. I hadn't realised there was another one. And it wasn't a bad episode, it's just I'd forgotten it. And I think because it isn't plotted out in advance, there are more threads than a series that had been plotting out in advance would have had. Does that make sense?
Yes, you wouldn't have planned quite, which is why they got rid of the Eddington thread, because they realised they got too many, but there we are. Well, ultimately, it's a good season. Don't get me wrong.
It is. It's got a few duff episodes. But ultimately, it's a good season. And it's very rare for any series to not have a couple of duff episodes in a season.
Yeah, I mean, even Babylon 5 had its duff. Grey... What was it?
Grey 17 is missing.
Yes, that's the one that springs to mind. Which was otherwise in a very archy, season.
And yet, just a bit weird. Is that the same one as the guy with the and he doesn't know what it does?
It's been too long. We might have to do a Babylon 5 rewatch at some point soon. But anyway, there we go. That's another series. We'll be covering the first 2 episodes of Season 6 of Deep Space Nine on Friday the 1st of December. Woohoo! So that'll be bOrgCast 11.1, of course. The episodes are A Time to Stand and Rocks and Shoals. So yes, we're looking forward to those, most definitely. Well, I've got a quick plug here.
Okay.
It's not for a podcast, though. It's actually for a radio show. I've got a friend of the show, Dimbo Sama. It does a bit of sort of community radio, basically. It's on Drive 105, which is available on the internet, on icecast.easystream.co.uk, and then that's a colon, isn't it?
Yeah.
8000/Drive 105. There you are. That's a bit of a long-winded way of describing it, but possibly you could Google it up a bit quicker than that. But he's on Wednesdays, 12 till 3, and it's fantastic. Whenever I catch it. And it's really cool stuff. So yeah, do give him a listen. And great music he plays, true.
You're going to put a link in the show notes?
I could actually. That would solve that one, wouldn't it?
And on the tumblers?
And quite possibly on the tumblers as well. Yes. Splendid. Okay, we'll catch you next time. Cheerio, bye.
Bye.
I'm no good at chatting up and always get rebuffed. Enough to drive a man to drink. I don't do no washing up. I always leave the stuff piled up in the sink.
But you will always find him in the kitchen at parties.
Me and my girlfriend, we argued and she ran away from home. She must have found somebody new and now I'm all alone.
The bOrgCast is brought to you by the lovely people at GeekPlanetOnline.com.
All music referenced is for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended. The music at the beginning of this podcast was produced by the 86th Floor on YouTube and is used with their kind permission.
To contact us, you can use the forums at GeekPlanetOnline.com.
Visit our Tumblr site at bOrgCast.tumblr.com, where you'll find images accompanying the episodes discussed in this cast.
Send email messages or MP3s to bOrgCast at GeekPlanetOnline.com.
Or you can contact us via Twitter on rev_org or bOrgCastAmmo. Hashtag bOrgCast.
Then I met this debutante, said I like you, way bra. She was into French cuisine, but ain't no cordon bleu. This was at some do in Palmer's Green. I had no luck with her.
You will still find him in the kitchen at parties. You will still find him in the kitchen at parties.
Shut it down!